Welcome back to Rusty Judgment, and welcome back to the most amazing and super spectacular video, well actually the second one that you'll ever see on YouTube about personal finance, real estate development, rental properties, and you too can do this yourself. If we haven't met before, my name is Tom, and I'm going to tell you all our financials on our moved-in property, aka the cracked house. I thought we bought it 3 years ago. We actually bought this land 4 years ago, and then we bought a house, we had it moved on, and we did a whole bunch of other things, but I'll cut right to the chase. You're going to want to stick around to the end of this video because I crunched the numbers an hour ago, and then I crunched them again. And it's not pretty. I'm actually really second guessing if I should do this again because this just did not turn out what we had hoped it would. But so we're gonna break it down. We're gonna show you what I'm talking about. I would love it if you subscribed. It helps me out a ton. Also, I wanna thank you for coming back. I wanna thank you for all you do for my family and myself. None of this would be possible without you. Like, genuinely, none of this would be possible without you. And so thank you so very much. All right, so let's get right into these numbers. The land price, so we bought two 2.5 acre lots 4 years ago, side by side. So we paid $210,000 for both lots. So we're gonna go land 105 for the lot that we developed already. Hey, I'm editing this video real quick and I just realized that it sounds absurd what we paid for that land. But I didn't say that in our area, you can't just buy dirt and build on it. You have to have a building right tied to that to be able to build on. So the 2.5 acre lots came with 2 building rights. So we purchased 2 lots and 2 building rights, which is why it was so expensive. Then if you recall, or if you are new to the channel and have no idea, had not seen any of this, then we bought a Rambler. There was a Rambler getting picked up off its foundation. The property was near a new roundabout and a new kind of on-off ramp area. And so the municipality that it came from was just having a bunch of houses cleared to get them away from the roundabout entrances. So this house was getting picked up and sold. So we bought this house, which we thought was a good deal at the time. We thought it was a nicer house then, it turned out. And we thought it was gonna need a lot less renovating. Turns out we were deeply wrong. All right, we paid $53,000 for that house. And I'm hoping you're thinking what I'm thinking when I wrote that down. Yikes, that's a lot of money for a house that you have to totally renovate. And if you're thinking that, you are wiser than me. So then once we moved it over to the lots, we had to dig a basement. So we paid an excavator to do that. Paid him $8,000 to dig a basement. In hindsight, I would have not done that. I would have dug the basement myself, but I didn't know anything at the time. So I paid a dude $8,000 to dig the basement. We had to do a septic system. So the septic system out there is a mound, and it is an enormous mound. And that cost $22,000, $230. And then after that, because these are bare lots, there was literally nothing there. It was a cornfield when we bought it. We had to do a well. So the well was $10,000. And then after that, there was no power. And when I say no power, I don't mean no power to the lots, because that's obvious. There was no power up the road. So I thought, naive Tom, thought that if you're putting in a new house, the electric company will bring the poles up the road to you for free because they're getting another customer. Turns out I was wrong. This number is bringing it up the road, running it to the house, paying for the transformer because we had to buy a transformer. But the bonus of the transformer is they said that one transformer will work for both of our houses there. So then when we do the next lot, which I'm second guessing at this moment in time, we wouldn't have to buy another transformer. And then in this number 2 is also all of the electrical work that I had an electrician do to rewire the basement, the garage, and just a bunch of random stuff inside the house when we renovated it. So that includes all of that. So then this house is hovering up in the air with no basement, no garage, no sidewalks, no apron. So concrete work, and this is all concrete. I was also shocked by this number as well because this is absurd in my opinion. $51,000 for concrete. Like, that's almost what we paid for the house. Anyway, then after concrete, the construction of the garage. I built a brand new 30 by 34 with 10-foot sidewall garage, detached. The garage cost $16,000, and that's framing, sheeting, shingling, like all the roof and all that stuff. Then garage doors, that was $6,000 for 2 garage doors. I know, that was a lot. I'm disgusted by a lot of these numbers, so if you are too, we're on the same page. I put a deck on the house. I did not build the deck myself. I had a couple guys build the deck. Materials and labor was $8,000. And then after that, so this was the first time we ever moved a house. And turns out we made some mistakes, as you can imagine. The house where it came from was a walkout to the front. Like its original spot, you walked out of the front of it. It was built into a hillside. And when we were laying this out over at its new location, we were gonna do a lookout to the rear. So we were gonna have the dirt higher up front and lower in the back. So then by doing that, we wanted to change the layout of the basement, which would change the mechanical room location and all that kind of stuff. Well, it turns out the biggest mistake that we did in this house is that by changing the layout in the basement. So because we changed the layout in the basement, then all of the ductwork wasn't gonna work. It was all wrong. The main trunk that ran through the whole house couldn't be where it is. So for HVAC, and HVAC is the furnace, the air conditioner, which are both brand new, and all brand new ducting in the entire basement. So a new trunk, new lines into the main level upstairs, and then new ducting into the basement was $11,000. Oops, $11,000. And Sean, if you're watching, thank you so much. Sean is a near and dear friend now because Sean did a fantastic job doing this work for us on the side. He does HVAC for a living, and he did this for us on the side, and I am eternally grateful for him because I got a quote to have all this done, and it was 2.5 times what this cost to get us done. So super grateful for that. We replaced all the windows in the house. Multiple reasons for that. It had a bay window out front, which was rotting, and then all the bedrooms needed to be updated because we found out when we moved a house from its original spot onto a brand new basement, then they inspect the house as if it were a new house. So then you have to meet different building codes. So they made me change windows in the bedrooms so that a fireman could get in and out of, which is something you wouldn't do if you didn't have to move it. So then we ended up having to replace like 5 windows. And then while we were that far, we had to replace the bay window. And then at that point, there were only like 5 or 6 windows left. So we thought, well, let's just replace them all so that they're all new and then they all match. And then we knocked out a window and opened one up and put in a big patio door, which is in where we attached the deck to, which I'm grateful that we did. But it all just, you see where this is going? It's like the money pit, you know, it just kept eating more money. That was $7,100 for all of the windows, the doors, and then all the exterior doors on the house. So there's 2 other service doors on the house that we put brand new in. So that includes all of that. I don't know if you guys are permit people, if you live in town, or if you follow rules. I don't live in town, and I traditionally don't follow rules. I am not used to getting permits for things. I just build things and remodel things. So permits were $3,000. And then after that, we put in, when we remodeled the house, we put in brand new cabinets in the kitchen, in the laundry room, and in the bathroom. And all of that was $8,000. Cabinets. Are you doing math? If you're doing math, it's getting kind of a lot, isn't it? We're not even close to done yet. Then we got flooring. We put in new flooring in the whole house. That was $4,000. I'm gonna skip through a lot of these because there's a lot of numbers here. So then the beam, if you recall, we had a whole beam fiasco. Because we changed the layout of this house, we opened up one end of the house that had a wall under it in its original location. Well, we got rid of that whole wall. So then we needed a massive I-beam to support that into the house. I may have made a mistake when I ordered this I-beam, and we set the house down onto it, and the beam bowed like 3 inches, a little over 3 inches in the center. I was trying to span 27 feet. Long story short, we ended up having it re-engineered because we couldn't remove that I-beam, so we had to figure out a way to beef it up. We had to bring the WT beam inside the window once the house was already on it, place it in place, lift the house back up to straighten the beam out, have him weld it, put it all back together. So now we have a flat floor and it's all strong enough and all that stuff. So we're safe, but that cost quite a bit. So the beam was $4,500. And that includes the mess up. That includes the original beam, the new beam, and then the cost of having it engineered and the cost of having it welded in. So, I mean, in reality, that probably wasn't super expensive, but it all added up. So then appliances. We tried to buy, we tried to buy used appliances for this kitchen because we remodeled the whole kitchen. We tried to get used appliances, and then immediately the oven quit working, the dishwasher had problems, and there was no fridge. $4,000, hey! All right, so now tile lines. So I didn't do this list in any particular order. So tile lines would be when we did the basement and it was all opened up around the outside of the basement, we had to put tile lines around the outside of the house or on the inside of the house underneath the floor. And then we had to do waterproofing on the walls, insulation on the walls, and all of that before we could backfill. That also cost $4,000. I'm running out of room on my marker board and I got a whole nother sheet to go. Okay, so then we called it the cracked house because when it moved, the walls cracked everywhere. Every joint, above windows, above doorways, where one header stopped and a wall began, the drywall cracked. The ceiling cracked in places. The drywall cracked a lot. So we needed a lot of tape and mud work done. And then we changed some of the layouts in the house, which also needed some drywall work done. And then we gutted the laundry, redid that whole end of the house. Anyway, tape and mud, $6,000. Trim and paint. So trim and paint to do the house was $3,000. Oh, I'm getting sad. This is a long list. Lighting, fixtures, wash tubs. We changed all the outlets, all the outlet covers. I mean, like everything. This house is like a brand new home. That was $3,000. I wrote light fixtures, but it also includes all the other stuff I just mentioned. I just put a miscellaneous list because I know I don't have all the receipts of every little detail. I put $6,000 in miscellaneous because I'm sure there's some crazy things I forgot because, again, we bought this property 4 years ago and just finished it last year. The property, again, it was a bare field, so there were 0 trees on this property. Since then, we've planted a lot of trees. That was $5,000 in trees. I couldn't have done all of this on my own. There are contractors that did some of these things, but then I also hired a good amount of help. I hired one of my brother-in-laws and a couple of his friends, and then I hired a couple other guys who helped me randomly along the way as well. So for contract labor of people I had working for me, I paid $12,000 over the course of doing this house in labor for other people. And then we have plumbing. So, there was a septic, but we had to do plumbing under the ground of I'm realizing this video is probably sounding kind of boring right now because I'm bored with it. You want to just know the final number? Why don't we just erase this board, or at least a chunk of it, and I'll give you the final number in the ugly, because if you watched our financial breakdown of the farmhouse property, that was a good investment. This one has a different outcome. Now we have a clean marker board. I'll just summarize real quick what I skipped. And I skipped it for time and space. We had to put a new hot water heater in, an iron curtain for rust filter, in-floor heat, all the stuff to do the in-ground and the tubing and everything, and then plumbing. That's rough-in plumbing under the slab plumbing and plumbing to connect to the house. So I won't total all that on here, but I have it all totaled here. And to save you time, we're gonna go all in cost. That's to develop the whole thing. Every dollar we have into this property from land to rent it out. That's a lot. That's a lot more than I thought it was. And that made me kind of sick seeing this. I knew, so at the end of this property, we were just trying to get it done, and trying to get it done entailed hiring more people, subbing more stuff out. We had the whole house re-sided. I was originally going to side it myself, but because we were on a time crunch, we were trying to finish it. I hired the siding out. So that was almost $8,000 in labor that I didn't need to necessarily hire out. So yeah, so that's what it cost to develop that property from nothing to what it is completely done. Now we're gonna go into, so it's rented out. It was rented out, I think in July? I don't recall the exact date. Maybe it was June, July. Rental income per month, we rent it for $2,500 a month, which annually is $30,000 a year. That's what it generates in income. However, subtracted from this number would be our property taxes and insurance, which I'm gonna ballpark it. I don't remember them off the top of my head. It's probably about $4,000 for property taxes and insurance. Tax, insurance. The taxes might increase because right now I think it's still undervalued because the assessor's office has not walked through that house yet. So I think that the taxes will increase. Then that would bring it down to about $26,000 a year in income. Now you may wonder, but what's the property worth? And that is the piece that makes this whole thing the most sad. On my last video about the breakdown of the farmhouse property, a lot of people had said, hey, you never accounted for your labor, like my labor. And you're right, I didn't, because as an owner, I just eat my labor because I think, well, I still own the property and like it appreciates in value. I'm getting rent off of it. You know, these are my justifications for not counting my labor. This property, I 100% could not count my labor because there's no money in it to count labor. All of my labor is a sunk cost. It's an investment. So I have no labor cost for you, for myself. The problem with this property and the value, we'll go market value. I'll tell you what I would sell it for if someone wanted to buy it. That's what I would sell it for. But, well, I take it back. I wouldn't sell it. But if I were to, that's what I would want for the property. But in reality, it's probably only worth $400,000, which is less than it cost us to build it. And that took multiple years and a lot of my time. So this property, I would say it probably wasn't a great idea. But it's done. You know, we did it, it's done, it's rented out. The renters are great. I never hear from this property ever. I don't do maintenance at it. I don't do the lawn care, the snow removal. I just get this check every month. I mean, I'm hoping that it will appreciate over the long course of time. And then this value number will increase. But right now, I don't believe, if I tried to sell it right now, I don't think I could get this for it. Based on comps that I've looked up, I don't think I could get that for it. It's a beautiful spot and it's a beautiful house, but I don't think we'd sell it for that. So yeah, so that's how this house turned out. And honestly, so I crunched these numbers earlier today, and I'm actually second guessing the house next door now. So we do own 2.5 acres next door. We own another house that's said to go on that property. And I have a lot of the permitting done, the house design, the septic design, all that stuff is already in play. But I think I need to do some really hard numbers, line by line, like this property, to see if it will make sense to do or not, because it may not make sense. I always thought it was gonna make sense, but this shows otherwise. I hope this was interesting. I hope it was helpful. I don't know if this is surprising to anyone that property cost this much money, but it did. So that is the financial breakdown of the moved in / cracked house property. We actually have another property. We never showed it to you. We never talked about it. If you've watched this channel or Dawn's channel for a really long time, like many, many years, you might have seen it at one little glimpse. It's actually our first rental property. And I'm gonna show that one to you soon because we still have that property. Thank you so much for watching again. Thank you for all the love and support you guys give me and my family. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.